Hello, welcome to Friday's ESPN FC Live. My name is Mark Donaldson, and every Friday we take a look back at the week in football. What have we seen? What do the boys and girls of ESPN FC think? And we look ahead to some of the games coming up this weekend. On today's show, Kylian Mbappe's hat-trick helping Real Madrid to a comfortable win against Kairat Almaty. The Football Americas crew have been debating Mauricio Pochettino. Now, the first tickets have gone on sale for the World Cup next year, but according to the Football Americas team, Mauricio Pochettino, more than a year on since taking charge, still doesn't know his best 11. Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. It's not working, is it? The boys from the Football Reporters will discuss his future and what next for Manchester United. It's Sunderland this weekend. Surely no excuses if they don't win that one. And plenty of other things still to come, including Craig Burley having a go at Mikel Arteta, who wants to involve some sort of fighter pilots to help communication among his squad. That's all still to come today on ESPN FC Live. But we're going to start on Tuesday with a look back at the Champions League. It was the early game, and Kairat Almaty have done brilliantly to get into the league stages and guarantee themselves 8 Champions League fixtures. They got the better of Celtic in the final qualifying round on penalties. And there's a brilliant clip on social media of their players reacting when they found out that they would be facing Real Madrid in match day 2. Not only that, but it would be at home. Yeah, they lost 5-0. And Real Madrid looked good. Let's find out what the FC crew had to say about that game.
Real Madrid pretty much dominating this game, something that we absolutely expected, especially after a long flight over there. They were actually closer to the Great Wall of China than they were to anywhere in continental Europe. Interesting. That's my little interesting stat of the day. But anyways, let's...
You think it's interesting. Cheers.
I thought it was kind of a quick, cute little nugget. I mean, when you think
like laughing at your own jokes
UEFA
here.
Champions League, someone has to laugh at my jokes.
Well,
right? But good bounce back from Madrid, good reaction.
How far was the flight?
About 4,000 miles. There you go.
I was only kidding. But
Look, this is, bounce back, expected. It makes not a jot of difference, really. This was very comfortable in the end. It's not going to take away the analysis and the pain and the questions from the weekend, where they struggled in quite a few areas, particularly the middle of the park, particularly the back four, particularly the left side of the back four, the defending or lack of crosses into the box. We saw it in the first 10 seconds, that long sort of ball forward, and Huijsen, who had a very poor game at the weekend against Alexander Sorloth. He really struggled with his physicality. And that's an issue for Xabi Alonso. His team's looking at the Atleti game and saying, you know what, if we can get some width in our game and put good crosses into the box, they look as if they're struggling a little bit. So on top of that, and the team selection from the weekend, which I know we've discussed at length, Jude Bellingham, was he fit enough to start, blah, blah, blah. They're not really learning a lot from this, just putting it to the side, saying, well, that wasn't a disaster, we got the 3 points. I don't think anybody really got injured to know. Mbappe continues his good form, which is important for him because they're going to need him. But yeah, in terms of learning anything from this game, not a lot.
Robbo, as Craig said, it's hard to read too much into this kind of a result for Real Madrid in terms of bouncing back after what happened at the weekend. But for you, what stood out?
Well, they struggled for the first 15 minutes. They were quite nervy, and the opposition was trying to close them down. The opposition played in a 4-4-2. But it all changed when they played Arda Güler in the sort of number 10 role, and they weren't quite sure how to pick him up. So time and time again, the ball got played to him because the 2 centre-halves were dropping off because they didn't want to be beaten by Mbappe's pace. The 2 midfield players were pressing onto the two deep Real Madrid players, and it allowed Güler to pick up the ball and pick his passes. And in that number 10 role, which we haven't seen him in too often in recent times, he looked to be an outstanding passer of the ball. Great vision. And, of course, Kylian Mbappe's performance today, when you see him play like that, his pace, his understanding where the space was, his finishing, I mean, he was absolutely world-class today. It was brilliant stuff, against, obviously, a very poor side.
Stevie, what's it out to you?
I mean, I guess if you want to look really deep, if you're Alonso, you're thinking, okay, we got stuffed in the Clásico. We lost 5 goals.
Madrid derby, Stephen.
The Madrid derby, I beg your pardon. We're going to spend a day on a plane. We're coming to somewhere we should win, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a big crowd. They're going to be energetic. The opposition's going to be up for it. I guess in some ways, if you want to, you can think, I'll find out who the slackers are, who's going to bottle it, who's up for this, who doesn't really fancy it. And I guess the answer to that is the bright start that Carriot made, I guess was obvious was going to happen. But they come away from such a long journey, a tough weekend, with a 5-0 win. So if you're Alonso, you'll take that every day of the week.
The good news for him, I suppose, in one sense, if you're taking the positives from the weekend and from tonight and the start of the season, and there was really not many positives from the weekend at all. Maybe Arda Güler's goal and that sort of stuff, is that at least he doesn't have to worry about his star player. He's got a lot of other worries in terms of his team, but he doesn't have to go away and put his arm around his star player because he's a problem as well. Stevie, he's just doing it at the moment. It's the other facets of the game that he's got to consider. How do you get the best balance around Kylian Mbappe? Is it Vinicius? Is it Mastantuono on one side? Is it Arda Güler, as Robbo mentioned, behind? What do you do with Bellingham when he's up to full fitness? You know, all these sort of scenarios, and then you get to the back four, but at least he doesn't have to worry about Kylian Mbappe sulking and not playing well because he's doing his bit. Unfortunately for him, he can do his bit all he wants. But if the other parts of the team don't operate to a high enough standard, they're not going to be successful this season. So that's something he's going to have to figure out very quickly, because we thought this was going to be a two-horse race in the Liga after the start of the season, and it is very early, but Atleti have kind of chucked their hat back in the ring and said, you know, don't quite... and I know they're hard to trust. Yeah. They're hard to trust over a long period, because we've seen them fall away before, but they've at least chucked their hat back in the ring, and they have, you could argue, along with Mbappe, the informed player in European football. And Julian Alvarez up front, who's scoring goals for fun, he's assisting, he's doing everything. So they've chucked their hat back in the ring. It looks like it's going to be a really, really tight La Liga title race, and that means Xabi Alonso is going to have to figure this out very quickly.
It's been quite the week for Atletico Madrid, having won 5-2 in the Derby de Madrileño against Real Madrid. So it was a good way for Real Madrid to bounce back, and as Craig was saying, what we thought was probably going to be a two-horse title race. Atleti, remember, they won 15 straight games last season. They are not out of it as well. But a good way for Real Madrid to bounce back. Some of the goals, yes, it's a side you should beat, but some of the goals were just outstanding in that one. So that was the Champions League this week. Not too many shocks. The big guns doing what the big guns do. We're going to move across to the other side of the pond now. And America, the United States, the men's national team, Mauricio Pochettino has been in charge since September the 10th last year. They've got upcoming games against Ecuador and Australia. Now, Pochettino has named a 26-man squad for that. The likes of Weston McKennie and Tanner Tessman, Matt Turner and Anthony Robinson all come back. Still missing, but they'll be part of the squad, assuming they're fit for next summer's World Cup. Johnny Cardoso, Serginho Dest, Ricardo Pepi. Tyler Adams is missing this camp simply because his wife is expecting. Now, what about his starting 11? He's probably got a fair idea of maybe, 20, 21, maybe more of his squad of 26, assuming everyone is available. But does he have a rough idea of the best 11 that he could play when the World Cup rolls around next summer? Well, Jeff Carlisle has joined the Football Americas crew to discuss Pochettino, and does he or does he not have an ideal lineup in mind?
So for now, Jeff, here's your locked-in U.S. men's national team starting 11, but I see a lot of little question marks floating around, as there is, I'm sure, around Mauricio Pochettino's head, but take us through this.
Yeah, I mean, in goal, I think Matt Freese has got his nose in front just a little bit. I think Pochettino trusts him, but I look at the experience of a Matt Turner and a Zach Steffen. I mean, Turner's played in a World Cup, so I think if everything else is equal, I could see Turner, getting the nod eventually. In terms of the other center back, in addition to Ream and Richards, I think Mark McKenzie is a guy that you take a look at. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is another player who Pochettino knows from his time at Spurs, who could also be in the mix. Celtic have not been conceding hardly any goals at all. I mean, their problems have been on the attacking end. And, some might quibble with Serginho Dest being in there, and certainly defensively, he has some issues. He could be a liability at times. But I think what you gain in the attacking end is far more than maybe what you lose. And that's why I like this 3-4-3 system as well, because you've got two center midfielders in, say, a Tyler Adams and a Tanner Tessman who can cover for him, as he gets forward. I think the forward situation, I think Balogun is the most talented player that the U.S. has at that position. But I think, as Giannis said earlier, he's not getting a whole lot of playing time. He's in a real battle for playing time with Monaco. So, he's really going to have to step it up. Otherwise, he's leaving the door open for someone else to come in, like a Pepe, if he's healthy. On the right wing, I think that's a battle between Zendejas and Tim Weah. Tim Weah has done well with Marseille. He's kind of been, what they say is the Swiss Army knife. He can play anywhere. He's played almost anywhere. He's played as a wing back. He's played as a left midfielder. He's had some good performances for Marseille so far. I just think that right now, Zendejas is at another level and contributing to a lot of goals. And that's one thing that I think that the U.S. has been missing from, Tim Weah, is that he just has not had a ton of goal contributions. So, and then, besides Adams in midfield, like I said, I think Tessman has really made a play for that particular position. I think a guy like Aiden Morris has also been playing well. But again, we'll see, and then there's Weston McKennie. We'll see if Pochettino, is willing to call him back in. You kind of get the sense that McKennie may be on the out in terms of what Pochettino thinks about him. So that's why this October window is just going to be so fascinating, because it's not only going to be fascinating for who's there, but also for who isn't. And so, we're going to have to wait and see how players perform, when they're with the U.S., and then what decisions Pochettino makes going forward.
Jeff, I've seen Pochettino in his press conferences. He said this was going to be the time that you'll see the real call-ups, the real players. I noticed in this 11, you've got one Major League Soccer player, and it's Tim Ream, who's going to be partnering next to Chris Richards. I believe in one of these press conferences, he said that he wouldn't be calling in so many MLS players because of MLS playoffs. Correct?
We'll have to wait and see. The needs of the team are one thing. Then, if you want to say that, use the playoffs as a reason for not calling somebody in, so be it. But, I think Ream is a guy that Pochettino depends on for so much, not just because of his play. He depends on him for his leadership. I think Ream is a steady veteran hand, a calming presence for everyone around him. And so, I think, if the needs of the U.S. team, I think, have to take precedence if you're Mauricio Pochettino.
Exactly.
The can keeps getting kicked down the road.
It's a good discussion here. 14 of his Gold Cup squad come back for this 26-man squad for Ecuador and Australia. And James Sands, who's on loan from NYC FC, and I remember he had a spell in Scotland on loan with Rangers, but he's flying at St. Pauli right now. He comes in as well. So we'll wait and see for this one. But it was interesting that Jeff's only got 6 of the 11 that he considers guaranteed starters, if fit and available for the US men's national team at the World Cup next year. Back to domestic football now. And Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. It's not going well for him. How about some of these statistics? His win rate percentage in the Premier League is 27.3. His point per game average is just over 1.03. He's lost 17 of 49. It's his 50th game in charge against Sunderland this weekend. He's only won 9 of those. And in those 49 games, he's conceded 53 goals and only scored 39. So is the problem him or the people that thought he was the answer in the first place? The Football Reporters discussed Ruben Amorim's future this week.
So, Rob, the pre-match talk was how United can build on the Chelsea win win back-to-back games for the first time under Ruben Amorim, back-to-back league games, and then go into the Sunderland game, win again, and all of a sudden they're challenging for the top four, but obviously it didn't go that way. They lost to Brentford. Another kind of shambolic, chaotic defeat. So, I mean, how long has Ruben Amorim got? I mean, it's his 50th game in charge against Sunderland at the weekend. Will that be his last?
Well, I mean, United privately are still saying that he's got the support of the board and Sir Jim Radcliffe, and obviously that can't go on indefinitely. I was at Brentford on Saturday. The worry from Amorim's point of view, I felt that for the first time, well, not the first time, but they looked particularly disorganised and ragged at times against Brentford, and I didn't really get that sense when they lost to Arsenal or City. I know that they lost both those games, but I didn't feel like they were disorganised, and they did look like that at times at Brentford. I mean, obviously the focus is again on Amorim and his record, which is poor, and he acknowledges that himself. That from my point of view, this to me is just, we've seen this so many times at the end of managers at Man United. It's a cycle that's been going on for sort of 10 years, and it just feels like there's a huge disconnect at the moment between United's history and the expectation around the club and actually what their reality is right now. And because that disconnect is so huge, it forces mistakes mistakes on and off the pitch, and that creates pressure. And it just feels like it's just a club paralysed by fear at the moment. And it was interesting afterwards that Amorim kind of hinted at that a little bit. He said that he knew exactly the way that Brentford were going to play, that they prepped to deal with that all week. He said that they trained, in his opinion, really well. But then what he'd seen on the training pitch, they just couldn't replicate it on the pitch. And he was asked in his post-match presser about why that was, and he just said it's just the pressure of the club. And you do start to wonder whether it is becoming this kind of impossible job now. And obviously, if this carries on and results carry on in the same vein, that Ruben Amorim will have to lose his job, whether you think he deserves more time or not, or whether you think he's had the right tools or not. It's always a manager. History tells you that it's always a manager that pays a price. But there has to be a real concern now with people at Man United that even if they were to get someone else in, that things may not change markedly anyway, because it's just become this absolute nightmare job now, where I'm not sure that anyone can come in and really turn it around, because Amorim's the latest in a long line of managers who have tried and have struggled with this. We're going to talk about Jose Mourinho later. He was kind of billed as a serial winner, and he couldn't do it. They've had Ten Hag and Van Gaal and Solskjaer, all these different type of coaches brought in for different types of reasons, and have all encountered the same problem. I genuinely, if United have to sack Ruben Amorim, I genuinely don't know where they go and how they get out of this kind of hole that they've dug for themselves over the last decade.
I just think that, you look at the last three appointments, Amorim, Ten Hag and Solskjaer, they're all inexperienced at the highest level. I mean, very inexperienced in Solskjaer's case, but even Ten Hag had come from Ajax and hadn't managed at elite level, and it showed. And it's the same with Amorim, it's shown. I think there's an incident before the game, you would have seen it, Rob. United were warming up at Brentford, and they were going through their set pieces. They were basically practicing for half an hour how to deal with throw-ins and corners. And it was like, well, you're basically telling Brentford that you're scared of their throw-ins and you're scared of their set pieces. And it's the weirdest thing to see a team going through that training routine in front of the opposition when they should have done it on the training pitch Thursday, Friday. Now, they may have done, but to show your hand before the game, it's just madness.
I don't think you can underestimate how important this game this weekend is for Manchester United. Amorim's 50th in charge. It's Sunderland at home, a side that came up through the playoffs last year. Yeah, they've started the season really well, but they're going to Old Trafford. This, a few years ago, how many are Man United going to score? Now, we're still asking, are Man United going to win this game? The fact they go to Liverpool afterwards, this is huge. And if they don't beat Sunderland, especially if they lose at home, then the writing may indeed be on the wall for Ruben Amorim. We'll find out this weekend, Man United against Sunderland. Now, we move on every night on the ESPN FC. At the end of the show, we have a segment called Extra Time, where we get to answer your questions. And most of them are light-hearted when they come in. So this was an interesting one, and it was to do with whether or not some of the ex-pros in our ESPN FC studio could still manage to kick it. Could they kick a field goal? Now, earlier this week, Eli Manning, the legendary Super Bowl winning quarterback of the New York Giants from days gone by, offered Harry Kane the chance to do what Harry Kane has said that one day it would be a dream to maybe be a kicker in the NFL. He thinks he could do it. Eli Manning says you're welcome at the New York Giants anytime to try out. But what about the guys and girls in the studio? Could they still kick a field goal? Let's find out.
Welcome in then to the latest edition of Extra Time.
Thinking about tomorrow now.
Yeah, we were looking at Craig's working tomorrow, and the Champions League games aren't particularly appealing. Chelsea, Benfica and Galatasaray, Liverpool, I think, are the two that are the highlights.
Well, I mean, we'll have the games on, and then his nibs will be behind me.
Oh yeah, he's going to be getting.
And I'll know he's behind me because he'll be eating his soup.
Yeah.
There's a bag of chips. You know they'll be there.
That's all you hear.
Napkin down in front.
Right. You know he's there.
Shaka, do you see Chelsea or United sacking their managers soon rather than later to try to poach Glasner from Palace? Relatedly, if you were Nuno, would you have passed on the West Ham job in anticipation that Chelsea and United job will be available? I don't think the Chelsea. I don't think.
I don't think Maresca's any kind of trouble, and I don't think Manchester United go for Nuno. So, to that point, he's right to take the West Ham job. Was available, get him back in the game. I'm a little bit torn on Amorim in that every time a United manager needs a result, they somehow get it, and they just end up kicking the can down the road. No, once again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think he should stay. Well,
you think they're looking for an excuse?
I'm kind of from a Newcastle and West Ham perspective, I'm kind of happy that he's.
They're basically looking for an excuse not to sack him.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And I think you saw this for a long time under Ten Hag as well. Every time all the rhetoric was, if they lose this weekend, he's gone. They somehow get a result. We had this 2 weeks ago, and they beat Chelsea. Right. And now we're having it again. So it wouldn't surprise me that Manchester United get the results against Sunderland, and then all of a sudden, all's right in the red half of Manchester until next week.
He didn't get that far in Leverkusen, did he, Ten Hag?
No.
He just come down the steps of the plane and they sacked him.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's enough.
That was incredible.
Was it 3 games? Was it 3 games?
Made a mistake.
Oh boy!
Ever since they got beat off that under-20 team in the summer, they got hammered.
The Brazilian under-20 team, yeah.
That was it.
Alarm bells were ringing.
Now, I'm not sure if you saw this, of course, a viral moment. A college soccer player kicked a 33-yard field goal to win $350,000 with Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
Could you kick that far?
Not now.
An American football?
Yes.
33 yards, yes.
You could have done it?
Yes.
Under that pressure?
Yeah.
What pressure?
What pressure?
What do you mean, what pressure?
Oh, with all your
schoolmates around.
With the defensive line coming out?
No, there was no defensive line, but obviously you got the pressure of knowing what was on the line, and it was his mate who won the chance, and he went, look, I can't kick. I'm going to give it...
So they're kicking the ball from dead?
Yes.
It's not snapped?
No.
Right.
33 yards.
Yes.
That's
So he brought in a ringer, basically, and got his soccer mate.
Brought in a soccer player to kick a little 33-yarder. That's a chip.
But the old... Not now, because the quad muscles have gone.
Okay.
Back in the day...
Right. What's happened to the quad muscles?
Well, they're just gone.
Where did they go?
I don't know.
We just had enough, to be fair. They're just like, I had enough. Wherever this is, I had enough of it.
There's moaning.
Just can't... not now.
Right.
No.
That was all right.
Well, at least Craig Burley's mouth works, and we need it to, because he's had a bit of a go at Mikel Arteta. Because Arteta this week was talking about ways of improving communication among his squad members, and there was all sorts of talk about things that aren't just about football, and that wound Mr. Burley up.
Let me get everyone's opinion on this, because we know Mikel Arteta loves trying new, interesting methods to give Arsenal an edge, and his latest effort involves fighter pilots. Let me tell you what he had to say. He says, I can wake up one day and say my process on match day is not good enough. Why are we communicating to the players to actually how the message is delivered? I don't like it. So who's the best at that? So the British fighter planes, for example, I will get in touch with those guys, how they communicate, because that is life and death. I'm sure they don't use 20 phrases or 20 words if there is one word. Don't say, nah, the wind is coming this way, now you have to turn left, because boom, dead. So it will just be one word. So Mikel Arteta there working hard to try and improve his communication with players to maybe not use as many words as some of us like
Well,
to hear.
surely that just involves engaging your brain. I mean, I'm not being funny, but
At least he's trying new things.
if I walked into a bar and it was only me and him in the bar, right, and he was sat at
You
one...
buying him a drink?
No, I'd go and sit at the other end. As far away as I could, because I wouldn't want to listen to that kind of nonsense. I mean, it's nobody pulling him to the side.
Aye.
It's none of his coaches pulling him to the side and going, hey, do you know how stupid this sounds? Do you know how stupid you're
Not
making
if they want to keep
yourself?
their job.
Well, you don't want people that just kiss your backside. You want somebody to say, listen, come on. I mean, what's he talking about? How to communicate? I mean, all you need to communicate is a brain and to be able to articulate it. I don't need to talk to a fighter pilot to know to keep it concise, to send a message to a player. I mean, this goes back to the documentary when, and listen, he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. They have a very good side, and they have probably as good a chance as ever of winning the league. It's not going to be easy, but they're in a very good position in terms of the squad. So I get all that, but really, I mean, really, do we need this nonsense?
No, it's not even funny anymore. It's just stupid, and it's getting embarrassing. And the one thing when you know, when you do it to begin with, stuff like this, it's original, and the players will kind of have a little laugh and a snigger, but they'll listen to you and the rest of it. But when you start doing it consistently,
You start questioning everything.
you're just turning people off. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody's listening to you. That's all he's doing. And 100%, I'm with Craig. One of his coaching staff needs to turn and say, Gaffer, I think we need to leave this now.
Robert, what do you think on this? Because I know you're always a fan of new, innovative ways of communicating.
Well, absolutely. I think you have to admire coaches or players who want to improve themselves or pundits who want to improve themselves. But you don't go telling everybody what you're doing and coming out with stupid ideas and stupid sense. And I think he contradicted himself there because he said, if you have to use 20 words when you can only use one, you're doing the wrong thing. Well, he used about 50 words there when he could have just used a couple. It's complete bonkers. And somebody at some point, as the two guys said, I've got to say to him, you're not doing yourself any favours. You're only doing this for your own benefit, and it's not working. You know, the players aren't going to take any notice of that. Any decent player will say, what the hell is he talking about? All you want to know as a footballer, what do you want me to do? What are the tactics?
So many places and so many ways you could go after that. I'm just slightly unsure about why Stuart Robson has a 4-foot ladder for his bookshelf when he can easily reach the top shelf. But anyway, let's move away from that. We end every Friday with a piece of FPL advice, Fantasy Premier League. Now, last week, up until the 89th minute of Manchester City against Burnley, when I suggested not to captain Erling Haaland with the triple armband on him, it was going well. Just one assist from Mateus Nunes. And then Erling Haaland scores in the 90th minute and the 3rd minute of added time. And then on social media, when someone said, oh, I've triple captained you, he's like, you're welcome. Thank you, Erling. Yeah, it was going well for so long. So we need to bounce back. Because I thought he would have been subbed by then, and he wasn't. So I'm going to give you something this week and to try and get ahead of the curve. Someone who's coming back from injury. He's back in the squad. He's back in the starting lineup. And he's usually one of the top performers in Fantasy Premier League. His name is Bukayo Saka. He's only owned, at the time of speaking, by 7.7% of FPL managers. He started the season at 10 million. He's now 9.8 million. So you're getting a discount. But here's the main thing. Look at these fixtures for Arsenal. Listen to this. West Ham at home this weekend. Fulham away. Palace at home. Burnley away. Sunderland away. Is he going to play them all? Is he going to start them all? Don't know. But he's a bargain right now. Get on him now before the bandwagon jumpers join you. And a reminder as well. 1:30 Eastern time today, 6:30 in the UK. that is when you have to have your teams in, because there's a game later today in the Premier League. Go and get Bukayo Saka if you can afford him, and thank me later if he doesn't do well against West Ham. My name's Craig Burley. May your arrows be green. Bye for now.